going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new episode of Hot Gamers Only, the show where we talk about everything that's hot in the world of games. I'm your host, Ethan, and I'm joined, as always, by the co-host with the co-most. It's Hunter. How you doing, Hunter?
Reaper, that's what people call me.
Is that the new one that you're going for now? Is that it? Is that the new intro?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'm doing
I'm
swell,
also joined
by the way.
There you go. There we go. I'm also joined by the Scottish Smasher. It's Jack. How you doing, Jack?
Gen 4 is actually a good series.
You're not getting back on that one, dude. You're not getting back on that
The
one.
die's been cast.
You made your bed, now lie in it, dude. And then we're also wrapping out this lovely group. It is the Backstreet Boy himself. It's Sam. Hey Sam, how's it going, dude?
Hey, what's going on?
I love that you're on this show because we'll mention it in housekeeping, but we have a bonus episode coming up next week in a couple of days after this podcast goes live. And Kyle makes a joke because he was hosting of how Jacob, who is the guest on that show, has been on as many podcasts as Sam, and now it's not true. So there you go.
Get on, Kyle, you nerd.
Kyle's not here because he thought that recording 2 podcasts within the span of 12 hours wasn't good for him. So there you go. But this is Hot Gamers Only, where each and every week we come to you and talk to you about everything that's happening in the world of games. You can find us on podcast services around the globe, as well as on youtube.com and SoundCloud if you're into that kind of thing. A bit of housekeeping. There's a special episode coming up on Thursday. I'm thinking it's going to be Thursday. It might be Friday. But then I realised Xenoblade's coming out on Friday, so I should probably have it up by Thursday. The Persona 5 Royal Spoiler Cast with me, Kyle, and Kyle's friend Jacob is going to go live on Thursday. I don't know what time. Just keep an eye out on the Twitter at the GigasYT if you want to know when it's coming out, or it'll be on the podcast feed as usual. 3 hours and 16 minutes spoiler cast of Persona 5 Royal. So if you've been wondering about what everyone's thoughts are, there you go. You've genuinely got an Avengers Endgame timed content for you, piece of content. So there you go. 3 hours and 16 minutes. We'll also be doing one for Final Fantasy VII Remake within the next week and a half or so as well. So look forward to that. Other than that, I think we're good to get started. This week's episode is Unpopular Gaming Opinions, apparently. That's what Hunter told me a couple of hours before it started.
They were like, hey, you can choose the topic, and I looked at our list of topics, and I was like, let's do this one. We seem like an angry bunch.
Well, I remember. Yeah, the thing was, it was supposed to be me, you, and Kyle, as it usually is. And then Sam messaged. She was like, "Oh, I could do it." And then Jack saw that it was unpopular opinions, and Jack's like, "Let me in." So
let me in.
I think
I don't
we
know
got
if I'm
a
gonna
great
regret this or not.
It should all go good. It'll go good. But anyways, let's get down to it. Basically, we're just all going to give some unpopular opinions that we have, and we'll discuss them. And that's going to be the entire episode. If it's a short episode, it's because we got a 3-hour one coming up later in the week. So forgive us for that. So there you go. I'm going to let Hunter start. Your idea, Hunter, so you can start off. What is an unpopular gaming opinion that you have?
Okay, this one would get me booed out of the room in most places. Before I played Breath of the Wild, my favorite Zelda game was Skyward Sword.
Oh.
That's a yikes.
Yeah, no one likes that game.
That game, oof.
I mean,
What you like about it?
But
I was so excited for that game before it came out, and I got like the collector's edition and stuff, and then I played it, and I haven't played it since, and that was in 2011.
Yeah, it came out in 2011.
It's just very underwhelming.
Let him make his case. What do you like about it?
Oh, well, a lot of it's just a kind of time and place thing. It came out when I was in like middle school, so I was going through the phase of like, oh, liking things is lame, blah blah blah, and Skyward Sword just kind of made me forget about that. Made me feel similar to how I felt when I was playing Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. All of that. I also like the characterization of Zelda in that game and the dynamic she has with Link. Some of the dungeons are really cool, and I enjoy a few of the boss battles are pretty neat too. Giram is also like the best not Ganon villain of the series.
I've never played the game, so I honestly can't contribute to this one.
I mean,
I don't think it's as bad as people think it is.
Yeah, it also has like the best water dungeon in the series.
the ancient
By
system.
virtue of being the only good one.
Yeah, the dungeons are like honestly the strongest point of that game. I feel like most of the
I
time
would
when I've
say so.
played through it, the issue I think most people just have with the game is it's just such a slog to get through. The first hour of the game is literally just dialogue, and it's boring as fuck.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, there you go then. That's an unpopular opinion, apparently. I can't add to it. The only Zelda games I've played is Breath of the Wild and
I can't believe
Breath
you
of the
these
Wild, Wind Waker, and a third of Ocarina, and that's my total Zelda knowledge. So there you go. Cheers to that one. Jack, give us an unpopular opinion.
Mario Kart 8 is not a good Mario Kart game.
I agree.
Yes!
That one.
I agree wholeheartedly.
That one's gonna put you on a spike. Go on, explain, Jack. Go on.
I think this also just kind of goes in line with what I was also going to say probably later on. It's just, I feel like a lot of Nintendo games nowadays, whenever like we get sequels, they just get watered down a whole lot, like in terms of mechanics and stuff. I just hate how a lot of games that come out, like they'll introduce something new to the series and then scrap it for something completely gimmicky and crap, like Anti-Gravity, which really just wasn't that interesting to me at all. It doesn't make sense. Like,
It
why?
doesn't add anything to the gameplay. It just feels like a normal track.
The only thing it really adds, honestly, is like interesting like track design. But beyond that, it's like it's just another Mario Kart game to me. It just doesn't have that special appeal like we did.
You're gonna have to explain that one because that's another unpopular opinion in general.
What,
So
that
you're
Wii's
gonna
a
have to
good
explain
game?
that. Yeah.
It's just a really strong Mario Kart game, like in general.
Yeah.
Go on, explain it. Go on.
Oh,
You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to because for those of you who are unaware, who aren't in this little bubble that I found myself trapped into for the past 6 years, Mario Kart Wii has a really strong fan base and everyone else hates it. So you either really love the game or you despise it. And I fall into, well, I don't despise it. I just hate. Despise is a strong word. I dislike Mario Kart Wii as a game. So this is another unpopular opinion. I'd like to know why people like Mario Kart Wii so much.
It's just really good. I mean, it is like hard to kind of explain, I guess. But I think when bikes were introduced, like that was a huge thing that changed a lot of things. The only thing, like obviously, that came out really badly with bikes is like how unbalanced the game was and whatnot. But a lot of Mario Kart games had that issue. I mean, you had the DS where like Yoshi Egg One was the combination that was like broken and unbeatable. I don't know about GameCube's best combos, whatever. Then you had Mario Kart 7, which was like Metal Mario on the B Dasher with the red monster tires was the most broken combo. Like the balance of Mario Kart games I've never really cared about. Like it's not that important to me, but in terms of like
Right,
I lost
right.
my point.
You see, this is why I don't like Mario Kart Wii, right? And I think I can't remember who I was having this conversation with like a couple of weeks ago. But I was having this conversation about Mario Kart Wii, and my thing that I don't like about Mario Kart Wii is I'm not a huge fan of the tracks. Especially the retro selection. I'm just not a huge fan of the retro selection on Wii.
Yeah.
One of the main things is that game was built for motion controls. And in my opinion, there are people that got used to it and then ended up liking how the game feels. But to me, it just feels horrible on a controller because it was made for motion controls.
I think Ethan just hates the GameCube controller.
No, not the GameCube controller. I played with the Wii, whatever,
the Pro controller.
Oh, the classic,
like the regular controller that you plug into the end of a Wiimote, like that.
Yeah,
thing, whatever that was called.
Yeah, the classic.
Yeah, I played with a regular controller and I just didn't like it. It just doesn't feel right to me. It just doesn't feel. It feels like, oh yeah, I can see how these controls were made for motion controls.
I don't understand how you can say that though. When even like tracks like Maple Tree were impossible to drive with just like half of the fucking carts and bikes in that game.
Yeah, which is why that's another reason. It's like some
that's
of the tracks don't feel right.
That's nothing to do with the game being based around like the Wii wheel and.
I get but I don't think the game knows what it wants to be. That's what I think. I think that a lot of the game's decisions were based on the idea of motion controls, and then you've got stuff like vehicles and tracks that counter that. And it just, in my opinion, none of it feels particularly great. I can see why people would like it. Like, obviously, some people, there's a big fan base for Mario Kart Wii, but everyone else just kind of feels like it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't control as nicely as everyone likes. Also, this is one thing I hate about Mario Kart 8 as well as Mario Kart Wii. Item rotation. Don't like them in both those games.
I was gonna get to the fact that like I hated the item rotation in Mario Kart 8. Now
I hate it in Wii as well.
Deluxe fixed like a few things with item balancing, but When the game initially
Coins are
came
just
out on
so
the Wii
bad.
U, holy shit, the coins! Oh,
Yeah. Coins were bad.
yeah, that's not. There's a lot to not like about Mario Kart 8. Even like the battle mode was, it's there.
Mario Kart 8 Battle Mode was awful. They kind of fixed it in Deluxe, but at the same time, you had to pay $60 to get the Battle Mode. That's essentially what you bought Deluxe for if you already owned it on Wii U.
Yeah,
So, yeah, it was a bit annoying.
I loved whenever
let-
you played like Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U when like before Deluxe came out, but the DLC tracks came out. Every time like a DLC track came on like the voting screen for worldwides, it would always be a DLC track. You just couldn't escape it.
Yeah, that was the DLC tracks were a bit much, but I do like the DLC tracks from MK8. Anyway.
They are really good. Don't get me wrong.
And that's the one thing that I do like in Mario Kart 8 is what they did with the tracks. Just even when they decided let's take the retro tracks and actually make them. They took the concept of let's take it instead of just putting what is essentially is just the exact same geometry that looks awful in the retro tracks and make them just look like the game that they came from. Let's take the design of it and just say what would, if we were making this fresh from Mario Kart 8, what would it look like? And that's what I kind of liked with the retro tracks from MK8 was they all looked like they fit into the game
Yeah.
more coherently. But anyway, that's enough Mario Kart talk. Sam, give us an unpopular opinion.
Crash Tag Team Racing is a great game, and everyone's mean to it.
I
Good
concur.
luck, Sam. You're on your own.
No, I think you're on your own, Jack, because I also agree with this opinion.
Hell
Tag
yeah.
teams are good. Tag team's fun.
It's
People
not a
give it
good
too much
Crash racing game. Like, you can't compare it to CTR and a Nitro Kart, but on its own, it's a really cool game. It has a lot of mix mash of different things to do in it, a lot of good characters that got introduced into it, and it's just a fun time.
I like the theme park vibe of that one a lot. Like, it was fun.
The
Yeah.
writing's great.
Yeah.
Like all the Radical games, the writing's great. Even in Titans and Mutant, which are two games that everyone hates in the majority of people hate in the Crash community. The writing's really good in those games. It's just the gameplay and everything else surrounding it and the character designs. But the writing's always been good in the Radical games, and Tag Team's no exception to that rule. It's really good. And yeah, the racing is a bit awful, but everything else around it's just fun anyway, so it's not. I don't hate it.
And
People
the
hate
racing
that
is
game.
like such a small part and a bigger whole in this particular game. It's not like the thing that everything's based around, like in Team Racing or Nitro Kart.
Yeah, you actually get out of the car and do some
So
platforming.
my point to kind of counter you, Ethan, is like, so obviously when we were talking about Mario Kart, you said you didn't know. You said you felt like we didn't know what it was doing, but Tag Team Racing just kind of screams that vibe. I feel like with the whole, it's supposed to be a racing game, but it's like also a fucking platformer. It's a shooter. It's like it has no idea.
I think that it's a Crash game first, and Crash is this IP that's just like wacky and crazy anyway. So I felt like they kind of have the ability to take that approach where it's just like everything's all over the place, and it's not that weird. Like if Mario had a game like that, it would be like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, it'd be like a fever dream.
It's also like I said that my opinion of Mario Kart Wii is it's trying to do many things and not doing any of them right. With Tag Team, the racing I don't think they did 100% right, but I really like the platforming. I really like the exploration of the theme park areas. I really like all the stupid mini games that they added. They're all quite fun. The story that they did was really fun as well. The dialogue was great. Like there were things that they did actually do really. Yeah, the dioramas were a great addition. Like there was loads of stuff in that game that they did do well. It's just the one thing that it fell on in a way was the driving, and the driving's not awful. It's just far too simplistic. It's not
broken
really a
as
racer.
hell.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
not
you
really
clash
a
and you
race.
win.
Yeah. Clash, engine, victory.
If there was online multiplayer, it might be better because then everyone would be clashing and it'd be more of like a death battle kind of thing.
Yeah.
But who knows?
And then there's also the stunt arenas and all that stuff. There's a load of fun stuff.
Barrel rolls for days.
Yeah. That's that.
And who doesn't love Wumpa Whip?
I know, right?
Yeah, nothing screams it. Okay, I guess it's my turn. Should I go with a tame one or should I go with
You should go straight for go to 100.
Go for the throat.
Okay, this is the one. This is the first one that I wrote down. 3D Mario is super overrated and underwhelming, especially Mario 64.
All right.
That's fair. But overall,
yeah. I have an opinion, which is I don't really. The closest I've come to liking a 3D Mario game is Odyssey.
I was just about to talk about Odyssey as well.
But no, especially Mario. I think Mario 64 is extremely overrated. I think it's not a good game. I don't think it's aged well at all. And I think if it wasn't for speedrunning, that game would just kind of be forgotten and just be like, oh yeah, I enjoyed it, but no one would ever really go back and play it. I think if it wasn't for the birth of the speedrunning community, that game would just kind of fall by the wayside and die like it should have. Other than that, the rest of the 3D Mario series, not really a huge fan of any of them. Like Sunshine, I don't hate. It's just, in my opinion, this is another unpopular opinion. I like Sunshine more than Mario 64. It's a better Mario 64
Same.
in my opinion.
I think Sunshine gets a lot of unnecessary hate, honestly.
But
Sunshine's actually my favorite 3D Mario game.
Again, it's nothing
Nice.
special. And Mario Galaxy, I just don't like Mario Galaxy.
I like the first one. I think 2 is just kind of soulless, though.
Yeah, 2 was just like an expansion.
Yeah, and I don't know. It made me feel...
The camera just never worked for me. The whole going around globes and stuff like that, it just didn't feel good to me. And I was just like, it kind of...
I've heard
just
people
didn't click with me.
legit get motion sickness playing Galaxy games.
I nearly did. I'm one of those people that nearly did get motion sickness from playing Galaxy. I'm just of the opinion of there's other companies that have done 3D platformers better.
Well, what I was going to say myself with like Odyssey, I think Odyssey is kind of overrated.
Go on.
So like the game, obviously, like this is more to do with how the game was built around the Switch. So because obviously like you're gonna have loads of kids playing this game and whatnot, the moons are really unrewarding and just kind of spammed needlessly over maps everywhere. I don't like how like you get moons for sitting on a damn bench and shit. Like it's really stupid. It doesn't fucking make sense. Like this is not challenging. This is not hard. The whole challenge in the game, like it's not a hard Mario game. And like fine, I know people like difficulty has never been a main thing in Mario games, but like when we compare even like the end of the game, like on the darker side of the moon and whatnot, and we have what is it like the ending challenge, like you know the champion run or whatever like levels that you usually get in 3D Mario games.
You
like
have
the
that
perfect run
3D
levels
world.
and
It's a complete joke in Odyssey at the end. Like the game just like spams a bunch of captures at you that you used like maybe once or twice and barely expands on those like techniques whatsoever. And it's not really like difficult at all. Like nah, it just felt really undermining, underwhelming. Like to finish the game on that kind of note and whatnot.
Like I didn't hate it. Like I thought it was fine. It's the closest I got to being like, yeah, I get it. Like I enjoyed it, and I see what they were doing with the moons. It was similar to Breath of the Wild shrines in a way, where it has that for the Switch. It has the pick up and play kind of. I only have 20 minutes while I'm waiting for the bus. Let's go and grab a few moons. Like it works for in that regard.
Yeah.
So you feel like you're making progress even if you're only playing for a short period of time while you're traveling or whatever. So I get that, but when it was up for Game of the Year, that's when it kind of was like, especially in 2017.
Like Zelda,
in 2017,
like,
you had genuinely 2017 was the year that you had Horizon Zero Dawn, you had Breath of the Wild, you had Nier Automata, you had Persona 5, you had there's so many more. I'm trying to think.
Senua's Sacrifice.
Yeah, there was a load of games, and even all of them, I'm like, yeah. Mario Odyssey doesn't really deserve to be here, in my opinion. Like the movement's all right, but the gameplay is it's fine.
The game
it's just
controls brilliantly. Like, don't get me wrong. I think there's some really, really good things that game does, but
yeah, the movement's great.
I just don't think the game really hit like what captures 3D Mario games for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think they just made it drag on a bit too long. There's a bit too many moons to get, and a bit too much just like boring stuff that they added, like all the Toadette stuff where you have to sit there and talk to Toadette for 20 minutes to get all those extra moons.
It's all
that's typical Nintendo, where they don't just have you go through.
There's just no point to
it. You have to go one by one. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. There you go. There's Mario run. We can't. Mario 64 kind of got away there for a little bit, so I'm just gonna let it pass. But it's a bad game.
We'll come back to it.
It's a bad game. Anyway, moving on. Hunter. Next to popular opinion.
The Arkham games can stay gone for a few more years.
The Batman games.
Yeah.
I agree.
I don't miss them yet.
Yeah, same.
I don't know if I ever will. Like, Arkham Knight was kind of underwhelming, so I'm like, oh, I don't really need another one.
It was the Batmobile. It was the Batmobile.
100%. Also, the plot twist at the end, or towards the end, was lame.
I don't even remember the plot. How long's Arkham Knight been out?
2015.
5 years?
Yeah, and I still don't feel... I think maybe if Spider-Man didn't come out, I might be itching for one by now, but...
Oh, yeah, you mean the identity. Yeah, okay, I get you. Okay.
But...
Yeah, I agree.
But...
I agree. There's been rumors for a while, hasn't there, with the new Batman game coming out?
Yeah, there's been rumors forever, and I'm like, I don't need this. I mean...
Yeah, I'm not going to complain.
I guess if it came out, I'd maybe be interested, depending on what they showed me. But
because when was Arkham Asylum? Was Arkham Asylum 2009?
I believe so. Yes.
So we're nearly getting to the point where we've nearly been without Batman for as long as we had it in the video game world, and I don't. Yeah, like I say, I don't feel like I've missed it.
Yeah.
Really. So yeah, I agree with that one. I agree with it. Jack.
Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is not a good Smash game.
Oh, here we go. Okay, Jack. Time for a rant.
Beyond the expansively massive roster we got and the amount of stages we got, it's not a good Smash game. The single player is fucking garbage. World of Light is the laziest, shittest story mode that has ever been shat out of Nintendo's fucking ass. Fuck that mode. It dragged on for about fucking 30 hours, and when you finally beat the first map, you're like, oh, thank God, it's done. No, you stupid bitch. We've got more. We've got another 3 sub-areas for you to fucking trek through this glorified ass event mode. And then you finish that and you think, thank God, it's finally done. No, you stupid prick. We got more for you. And this is all for what? Just to unlock menu music. Just to
and you can't. Do you know what triggers me? I did it for the menu music, and then I found out you can't even change the menu music to any song in the game. It's just the Smash Brothers themes.
Garbage. And then on top of that, all the event, like, fucking shit, gone. Target test, gone. Fucking Cannon Blast, Angry Bird shit from Smash 4, gone. Home Run contest got added eventually, but it's just kind of fucking there and, like, meh. Classic mode has been drastically changed in a way that was somewhat cool, but also kind of ruined the whole randomness of classic mode. Garbage. All-Star mode is fucking garbage. All-Star mode is all about fighting like a huge roster of fucking characters on different maps. No, it's just a fucking glorified multi-man now. Bullshit. Garbage. Rubbish. Online. Everyone knows it's garbage. I don't think that's a controversial opinion. The online's garbage in general. Elite Smash. Fucking what the fuck, Sakurai, were you thinking with this garbage? You had a perfectly fine functioning mode in Smash 4 for fun and for glory, and you went fucking shit out the ass. Here we go, we're gonna fucking put our stupid global Smash power ranking system into the game, but it makes 0 sense whatsoever. You can win a game and like go up 20,000 GSP points and then lose another and lose about 100,000 points. And it's like, why the fuck does this even exist? Oh, right, anyway. That's just to do with mostly the game's modes. On top of the other things that doesn't make the game feel like a Smash game is it just doesn't actually feel like a celebration of, like, games. Like, franchises and stuff, like other Smash, like Brawl would do, you know? Like, it had trophies to collect and whatnot. All these kind of cool little things. It had masterpieces and it had a really fun, rewarding challenge like system and whatnot. And then Ultimate just kind of binned it for JPEGs. And like, nah, Spirits is awful. Like, genuinely really awful. And I get why they did it, because they obviously were like rushing the game to put it on the Switch because they wanted to put the new Smash game on the Switch. So they probably had to bin like a lot of the ideas of like a proper subspace and whatnot and just make it a glorified fucking Monopoly map.
Yeah, I get you. Is that it? Is that everything?
No.
Oh, doctor.
The actual game, so obviously I'm a competitive Smash player, or was.
Scottish Smasher, dude.
Scottish Smash, right? A lot. It's not even like really an unpopular opinion within the UK. I feel like a lot of old Smash 4 players and people that picked up Ultimate just kind of generally agree it's not as good of a competitive game. In some regards, there is things that is good that they added to the game, but also the game controls like fucking garbage. The whole short hop macro fucking bullshit Sakurai put into fucking cater for casuals and little Jimmy and his 3-year-old thumbs. Like, fuck off with that. You just made full hopping a piece of shit to do now with aerials, and then you've got fucking the movement's really sticky. Well, not sticky, but it's really like limited in terms of how you move. Platforms are really fucking annoying to drop through and sticky. Full hops jump like reach their peak way too high, making defensive play way too campy and boring. Oh, I'm gonna end up going on for hours.
I think
Yeah,
I
does
think
someone
you've
else
made
want
your
to go
point.
on?
I've made your point. I mean, I've got. Does anyone else have anything with like another one with Smash Bros? Because I feel like I should get mine out of the way because I have a Smash Bros
I
one.
feel like
Does anyone else have a
Brawl,
Smash Bros
at least
one?
for a while, got a bunch of unnecessary disdain.
Brawl.
Yeah, like I feel like before Ultimate and 4
See, I
came
can
out,
say
people
the
were like,
opposite.
"Oh, Brawl's lame."
I can say the opposite with Brawl. I could say it's a really, really good Smash game, but it's a fucking terrible fighting game.
Hmm.
My unpopular opinion for Smash Bros.
Uh-oh.
is cue the fucking army of fanboys coming to kill me.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
He's going to kill Byleth.
Smash Bros is overrated for what it is.
Oh.
The game's fun to play with friends, and obviously there'll be a competitive community, like with every fighting game. But other than the trailers and the character speculation, they're more hype than the actual game itself. If there wasn't a culture behind character reveals and hype around the Smash event, no one would really care about the game after it was released. That's my opinion. Is its character speculation and reaction and who gets in is more important to the game than the actual game itself because it's overrated.
So what you're saying is because the character reveals and what else?
If it wasn't for character speculation, all the hype
All right.
trailers and the reveals, then people wouldn't care as much about if Smash was the exact same game, but it was all just Nintendo characters and nothing else.
But look how
and all
Melee
the
did.
reveals were just like, oh, it's Kirby. Yeah, but that's with retrospect. People like that because of nostalgia.
People liked that game way back in 2001 when it came out.
Yeah, but I'm saying now, I'm saying if Smash Ultimate was just all a bunch of Nintendo characters, no one other than Nintendo fans would care about it, and the character reveals wouldn't be a big deal like they have been recently.
Well, yeah, if it was just Nintendo characters, it wouldn't reach outside of the sphere of Nintendo
I mean,
fans.
If it
clearly,
wasn't for the
but
character reactions, I don't think the game would be as popular as it is.
the
in my
character
opinion.
reveals we had like that were the really big ones. Obviously, were Sonic and Snake and Brawl, and that's when people kind of
Yeah.
started to realize like, holy shit, anyone can get in. And then we had Smash 4 where it was like fucking Wii Fit Trainer, Villager, Rosalina, like not really interesting characters. And then we had stuff like Palutena, Little Mac, Greninja, Mega Man, and then that was all cool. All these were really cool characters. And then I think when Cloud was announced was when people kind of like started really realizing like, yeah, any fucking person can get into this series. And I definitely think that probably helps like the whole speculation culture.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing that kind of proves it in a way. The Smash Bros. 4 reveal trailers, especially Cloud and Bayonetta, and even Mewtwo. When Mewtwo was revealed with the pre-order bone, like the buy 2 copies and all that stuff, those were more popular than the fucking game.
Mhm.
Smash 4 was a fucking flop, like in a way, compared to the rest of the Smash
look
Bros.
at the
game.
console it was stranded
It's
on.
it's on the console, purely the console's fault.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's not a console seller.
But Ultimate sold completely fine, unless you're saying
because it was on a console that had already sold really well.
Yeah, the Switch had already
and people
been
were
sold
hyped
by like
because
Breath
of
the Wild and Odyssey.
because people were already hyped from characters like Simon and Richter getting in, and then Joker's big reveal at the Game Awards. I'm sure that boosted sales hugely. just because people were like, "Oh crap!" Like I don't even, like most people were like, "Oh, that's just a cool trailer." I don't even know who Joker is, but that's a cool trailer.
So what's your actual point?
My point is that Smash Bros is overrated for what it is, and if it wasn't for the trailers, if it wasn't for the like the big, huge like hype around the trailers and the characters, it wouldn't be as big as it is.
Well, I don't think
The
you're
gameplay
wrong.
wouldn't.
I don't think you're wrong, but also I don't think that's really. I wouldn't say that's too controversial because I think most of even like the competitive community even realizes that the majority of the fan base of the game and like where the money goes towards and whatnot is from like casuals. The
Oh yeah,
competitive community is like incredibly small compared to like fucking little Jimmy and his family playing Meta Knight and fucking Little Mac on FD with items and shit.
yeah, exactly. But no, I'm just saying. I think Smash Bros. As a game, like as its mechanics and stuff like that, if it wasn't for the characters and the trailers and speculation, I don't think it would be as big as an 18 million copy seller as it is on Switch. Personally, if it was just reveals like Villager and Rosalina and Luma again, and it was just those kinds of characters that got added. It's very much the atmosphere around Smash reveals, in my opinion, that makes the game as big as it is.
Okie dokie, fair enough. Anyone
Right,
else got
Sam.
something to add?
Sam, go for an opinion that gets us away from Smash Bros.
All right. So my favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy 3. And
Sorry, I should have laughed. I've not even played it, and I'm just gonna go.
I think most people would say that that's not a very good opinion. So yeah, I like
Hunter,
FF3
you're gonna have
a
to be.
lot.
You're gonna have to be the opposing side here.
I couldn't play 3 for very long before I got tired of it. So yeah, I don't like it very much. I'd wager I still like it more than 15, but that's besides the point. Yeah, it's really grindy. So, and as I get older, I just lose my patience for grinding in RPGs. So that's
fair.
probably
Amen. Dude,
made-
amen.
I just
bro.
really like the simplicity of the battle system and the job system, and it was like one of the first games that they did with the job system.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool having all the different options and stuff.
going.
And I kind of like
You
go ahead.
first. No, you first.
I like doing like randomized kind of stuff. So like picking random jobs to use to play through the game, that kind of thing. It's a fun game to replay. I know it does get grindy, but there's a lot of little things you can do to speed things up.
That's fair. I think they refined the job system a little better going forward in things like 5, and then in 9 you couldn't randomize the jobs you were doing because they were all tied to a character, but each character
I
was
didn't
a
like
job.
that. I also don't really like the active time battle system that they implemented in 4 and onward. That's why I mainly stick to 3, because I can just kind of
because
go
it's
at my
like
own
purely turn based.
Yeah.
You might like 10 in that case because it's not an ATB thing. It's more of a it's purely turn based there, and you can pretty much do whatever you want with the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's about it. I understand that FF3 is definitely not the best FF game, but it's just where I'm at.
Yeah.
I get you.
That's my game.
I'm going to say a really quick one before you, Hunter, because this one, you're the only one that really be able to comment on this one, Hunter, because it's more of a normie thing. Rockstar Games are some of the nicest looking games with some great stories in them, but the controls are ass, and they will always put me off Rockstar Games. They still play like PS2 games in the year 2020. Red Dead 2 and GTA 5 have some of the worst control schemes I've ever seen in a fucking video game. They're awful. I hate them.
Well,
so there you go. That's my
haven't
unpopular
played Red
opinion.
Dead 2 yet, but I hear that the controls is what puts people off of that. And to be fair, I can't play Grand Theft Auto games for more than like 15 minutes without getting bored.
Yeah, the controls are awful. They released the game in 2018, and the buttons are still mash the X button to sprint.
Oh,
press
geez.
square to jump.
Press square to jump.
Yeah,
oh, doctor.
We're still learning, and they also run terribly. For the best-selling games of all time, they can't even hold 25 frames at times. Rockstar Games, they play like ass. There you go. Little tiny unpopular opinion. Go on, Hunter.
Let's see here. The PS2 Mortal Kombat games don't get the recognition they deserve.
I like how yours are mostly positive. Yours are like, this game doesn't get enough.
Okay, man. I don't strongly dislike a lot of things. It's Final Fantasy 15, Resi 5, Five Nights at Freddy's, and then my list is like done.
Fair.
So I have to skew more positively. But yeah.
I can back you up with Mortal Kombat on PS2.
Yeah, I think Deadly Alliance and Deception specifically had a lot of great like single player value in them. Going through
and
like
I played Armageddon, and Armageddon had a really good single player mode.
Oh yeah, the Conquest mode in Armageddon was cool. That game gets a lot of unnecessary hate too because it was like, oh, I can understand some of the criticisms, like because of how big the roster was, they couldn't do like character specific fatalities, so that was kind of lame. But I understood why it happened and stuff like that. But I still think Armageddon was cool for what it was. That intro scene alone was enough to justify its existence.
Yeah.
Nice.
But my favorite of the bunch was Deception, just because of all the things you could do. There was the Conquest mode. There was like chess combat. You mix up like chess pieces, and every like conflict was solved with a Mortal Kombat battle. It was really cool.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
There you go, Jack.
I'm running out of things already.
I mean, you did give like a 6-minute rant on Smash, so that's fair enough, But...
I mean, yeah. I'm just kind of like trying to look for ideas while these are going on as well at the same time.
Well, you know what? You call out if you get one.
Yeah.
Right? You call out if you get one. Do you have another one, Sam?
I don't have anything that's like super controversial, except I guess
well, it's just
that
unpopular. I think we're just going to tackle unpopular opinions.
Okay, I got a decent one. I think that newer Naughty Dog games are pretty overrated compared to older Naughty Dog games.
Honestly, I think the Uncharted games are just okay.
Same.
Yeah.
I agree with the PS3 ones.
I don't like Last of Us really either. Though.
See, I really liked the story of The Last of Us, but the gameplay there
the gameplay really
it was as good. I feel like it was as good as it needed to be to get you from story beat to story beat, but that was it.
I have another Naughty Dog one as well to add on to it. A bit controversial. It's a bit of the opposite of yours. Jack is the worst Naughty Dog IP. Only one of the 4 games is any good, and we don't even talk about the 5th one that Naughty Dog didn't make. So,
I agree. I think Jack 1 is the only good Jack game.
That's the correct answer. Jack 2 is the worst, and Jack 3 is a more functioning Jack version of Jack 2. I don't hate Jack 3 because Jack 3 works better, but it's still not that great.
They just took the series in a complete 180 direction after Jack 1, and it really turns me off.
But no, I find it funny that I also had a Naughty Dog one on my list. But yeah, Jack is the worst Naughty Dog IP in my opinion. And when people are like, "Oh, bring back Jack," I'm like, please don't. Because it is just like, it's Uncharted anyway. It was what Uncharted, it was what they wanted Uncharted to be. Like, you can see why they went from Jack to Uncharted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's that. And I agree with what you like. A lot of Naughty Dog's games are overrated. The only one that I really, really like is Uncharted 4. That's the only one that I really enjoyed. The rest of them are all fine. And then Last of Us, I really loved the story, but as Hunter said, gameplay.
It was just okay.
Do you want a positive one from me?
Sure. Let's sure.
A negative one? I can say this one because Kyle's not here.
Oh boy, here it comes.
Xenoblade
Hearts 3 is good.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is not a bad game like people make it out to be, and has the best worlds of any Kingdom Hearts game.
I will agree with you that the level design in that game is the best one.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's
barring
the best game.
World.
I'm not saying it's the best game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it plays the best or anything like that. I just say people heavily overreacted negatively for what it was. And that's all I really have to say about Kingdom Hearts 3 is people overreacted a lot about that game, whether it was people coming into the series and just playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and then bashing on it because like none of this makes sense. It's like they did pretty much tell you that it was going to follow all the bullshit that had already happened, so
Yeah.
You know, that's that. And then the combat's not as bad as people make it out to be. Yes, is it not as in depth and is it not as sophisticated as Kingdom Hearts 2's? No. But is it garbage? No, not really. It still functions pretty well, especially in Remind. So yeah, there you go. That's my Kingdom Hearts 3 one. Do you have any more, Hunter?
Okay, so stick with me here because trying to describe this in a catch-all way might be hard, but little modes in games like detective vision and listening mode in The Last of Us and the equivalent in Tomb Raider.
Bullshit wall hacks, yeah.
Those need to go away.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I can agree with that.
Yeah. Like, I think detective mode in Batman was the one time it worked, and then after that it just started something awful.
And then it was in every game.
It was in every game that was in a third-person perspective, and it just became annoying because like it takes some of the intrigue out of, you know, what's the point if you can just see around the wall?
Yeah, the only two that I can think of where I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Is Batman was alright. And then I don't mind it, like, for example, in Persona 5, you have thief vision that will make
That's a little
treasure
different because that's
glow.
not like the
Yeah,
point.
I know, but it's still like a bullshit, let's put a filter over the fucking screen thing, right?
Yeah.
But it was just like having the fact that the enemies glow a bit, not behind walls, but just any enemies on screen glow and any items glow, they're fine. But when it does just show you everything everywhere, I do agree it's pretty mediocre. I've got a couple more, but they're all...
Alright, I think it's time to talk about Crash.
Oh,
Do you want to?
Okay.
Let's do it.
I've got two about Crash.
Go for it.
Insane Trilogy is fundamentally awful.
Agree.
Yeah, definitely agree.
It might be fine for a casual player, but especially Crash 2 in that game is broken. I'll stand by it. Crash 1 of NST is great, and if you're ever going to play Crash 1, you should play the NST version of Crash 1.
And
there's no reason to go back to the original Crash 1. Crash 3 is a hit or miss. There's things that are better in the original. There's some things that NST actually did better.
The jet skis are fucking horrible and
It's all around. It's like a hit or miss. You can kind of go with Crash 2. They did nothing right about in NST whatsoever. All the jumps that you could use to just jump over, just regular jump, you now have to slide jump over because they didn't have the physics right because they just used Crash 3's physics. Just the ice mechanics were awful in NST.
Was it not the opposite that they built up from Crash 1 and then kept building up?
They said that in the marketing, but then when people were interviewing after it came out, they very much specified that they made Crash 1 first, and they made Crash 3, and then they made Crash 2. Crash 2 was the last one that they made.
Weird.
That is weird.
And that's why you get the running shoes at the end of Crash 2, was because they'd already made the running shoes, and they just put them in Crash 2.
Which is another good point to bring up, that the relics that they added to Crash 2 just don't fit the game whatsoever, because Crash 2 was not designed to have relics at all.
Yeah, but they don't hinder progress, so I can't really blame them for adding them in a way. Like
it makes more sense to me than adding them to Crash 1, where a lot of that's based around waiting.
It literally is just making sure you get on the right cycle for the Crash 1 ones. Yeah, it's
at least.
But fundamentally,
play the levels too faster.
But yeah, and Central just doesn't really work fundamentally as a good Crash game, especially just like the
box physics are
geometry and stuff
horrible.
Like that. The box physics were awful, and
you can't slide off of boxes and break them.
And my one hope is that this was all because it was on the Alchemy engine, and hopefully switching to Unreal will make it easier for them to do this kind of stuff better. So that's fingers crossed for that. Because like I say, Spyro Reignited they did a really great job on, and they did a really great job on Nitro Fueled as well. So, and that was in Alchemy, but that was a racing game, so it's a bit different. My other unpopular opinion is Nitro Fueled is the best Crash game.
Just
and that's
point blank.
Period.
Yeah, period for me. It's the best Crash game. Point blank for me.
This
better than all the other Crash racing games that came out before it, and
that's a respectable one.
And better made than all of the other.
I can
Crash
respect
games.
that opinion.
Okay,
as much of a fanboy as I am for Crash 2, I respect that.
Yeah,
there's a ton of content in CTR, and
it's fan service. The game, nearly every character that's ever been in Crash.
It's a big celebration.
It's the Smash of Crash.
Everything was free. They added ton of content. They did a really great job on remastering everything. They did a really good job of turning the Nitro Kart tracks into more regular tracks without anti-grav. They did a good job for most of them. The only one that they didn't really do that great a job on was Hyperspaceway because they cut half of it out. And the other DLC was really good. So yeah, in my opinion, it's the best Crash game that they've done, personally. So yeah, that's that. Does anyone else have any Crash opinions?
Not at the moment.
Twinsanity is a great game.
I concur.
I don't know how unpopular that would be.
It's
per
getting
se,
more and
but-
more popular.
It's getting more
People used to
popular.
hate on Twinsanity, but
It's
people are starting to.
I'd say it's
grow on
at
it.
least the best not Naughty Dog one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I heard,
I
like
think
someone
I'm
The
saying,
regular, yeah, the regular platformers. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Cortex like straight up carries that fucking game.
Lex Lang carries that game, not even Cortex.
yeah.
Lex Lang
Yeah.
playing Cortex carries that.
True
Yeah,
enough.
he did a really good job,
Yeah.
and he still does to this day. Other than that, I've just got this one. Hunter will be able to agree or disagree with me because I think he's played this game.
What you got?
God of War 2018 is great, but it's overrated. I love this. A bit like The Last of Us. I loved the story of God of War. I think they did a really good job with the acting and the performance and the camera work and all that, but the gameplay's just fine.
Okay, I like
the actual game itself.
I
is a
like the
bit
gameplay in this
overrated.
one a little bit more than, like, say, the gameplay in The Last of Us. I think it's still
Yeah.
exciting.
Oh yeah, it's better than.
It's
the gameplay,
definitely
which
not
can be a bit
like,
better.
because I'm a fan of Devil May Cry, hack and slash stuff is very hard to get me to go, yeah, I'll replay this over and over if you're just okay. But I think God of War is, out of the games that came out that year, treated respectably. I mean, I think it functions better. Well, no, I haven't played Red Dead, but it sounds like it controls better than Red Dead from what I hear, as far as like the way that not completely divorced from, being
I agree,
intuitive, as I've heard Red Dead be so many times.
but it's just the fact that it was rated so highly. I don't think that it deserves a lot of praise, especially for the story and the acting. But I don't think it deserved all the praise for the gameplay as much as it did, in my opinion. So that's that
to
little
be
one.
fair, very few things in games lately have felt as good as throwing that axe and calling it back.
Oh, the axe throw was great. I'll give you the axe throw. I'll give you the axe throw. The axe throw did feel good.
Okay, I think
You
I
got
have
one, Jack?
Yeah.
Go on.
I think Animal Crossing New Horizons only sold as well as it did because of the current situation with the pandemic.
That's 100% true. It's the same with every game. I think Final Fantasy VII Remake sold 3.5 million copies in 3 days.
Oh yeah, it went bananas.
I don't think anyone would. Yeah. And Persona 5 Royal was like the second best-selling PS4 game for March, and it came out on March 31st. Like,
crazy.
I think literally every game.
It was like, oh man, we're gonna be stuck inside forever. Let's buy a long RPG.
Buy a month. Let's play a game that lasts me 3 months. But no, yeah, I agree with that. I also think it is a bit overrated for what it is. They don't really. I liked Animal Crossing. Like I really liked New Leaf, and I still like New Horizons, but there isn't much to keep you playing it.
There wasn't enough reason for me to even go and buy it, really.
Like, I enjoyed my time with it. I got over 70 hours out of it, but after playing for 2 months, I was done. And I can see how people were done earlier than that. It's just because I only played it like half an hour a day anyway, so.
Yeah, I fell off relatively quickly too. Just wasn't much to do.
I agree with that, but then I would also say that now, because the game has sold that much, that it's probably grown its audience by quite a margin just because of COVID. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what the next Animal Crossing does, because I'm sure a lot of people, it will retain a lot of it, the audience. Not as much as you'd expect, but I'd expect it to be one of Nintendo's bigger releases going forward now. Just because of how big it is. And even if you're not talking about the game, it was massive on Twitter and on the internet for at least a month.
Yeah.
It was everywhere, so it's kind of in the public zeitgeist now, so.
Yeah.
We'll see. Have I got any others that are very quick? I I'm the only person on the planet that didn't really like Nier Automata. I've mentioned this before. Bit of an
I've got a
unpopular
friend who
opinion.
didn't like it that much, if that makes you feel not alone.
I feel like the story is interesting for what it's trying to do. I don't think it necessarily pulls it off that well, and I'm not a big fan of the gameplay. Like a lot of Platinum games, I got bored of the combat within the first 5 hours, and it went on for 30. So there you go. Any other ones?
Here, I don't know
of
necessarily how unpopular this is. I just know I hear one series get talked about way more than the other one, and it comes down to probably personal preference for me. But as far as BioWare series go, I like Dragon Age a lot more than Mass Effect.
That's definitely probably an unpopular opinion right there.
Yeah, like people started hating on Mass Effect Andromeda because it was buggy and crazy, from what I recall. But yeah, Mass Effect is kind of like at a gameplay level a boring cover shooter, and then it takes place in space. And Dragon Age Origins, or Dragon Age in general, is like more of a standard RPG. Origins' gameplay isn't exactly the greatest, but I feel like the character progression and stuff felt good. I liked all the options you had as far as responding to people. I thought the characters themselves were very strong. 2 dipped a little, and then I think Inquisition brought it back quite a bit. So yeah, it probably just comes down to personal preference, being that I like medieval fantasy more than sci-fi, but yeah.
Cool. I've got one last one, and Hunter and Sam will both be able to chime in on this one, so I hope you're ready for this one.
Oh, boy.
It's a bit negative, but then the praise that it suggests, I do have big praise for. The only thing not overrated about Undertale is the soundtrack.
The only thing that's not overrated
about Undertale, yeah. The gameplay and the story and everything about Undertale is overrated, except for the soundtrack. The soundtrack is legitimately great. I'll give it the soundtrack. The soundtrack's one of my favorite gaming soundtracks that I've heard in a long time. I really like it.
I think the characters in Undertale are really strong. I think it's a little drinking its own Kool-Aid as far as the meta-narrative goes, but I think the characters were strong. I thought the gameplay was interesting enough. I haven't really encountered very many RPGs where they're making me do stuff on the enemy's turn. So, yeah. And I feel like they switched it up, like with each of the boss battles having like a different thing that they'd do. I thought that was okay too, but I can see what you mean.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all that.
Nice. And has anyone got any final ones, or are we done?
I've got one.
Oh, here we go. Oh, okay, Jack.
There will never be any good 2D platformers coming from any fucking big companies anytime soon, like Tropical Freeze.
When you say big companies,
like from Nintendo or like Sony or.
But you still think indie devs can make good 2D platforms?
Definitely,
right?
like we've had Celeste and whatnot. Yeah,
Celeste and Ukulele and the Impossible Air were recent, yeah.
But I just don't think we're ever going to see like a big, good 2D platformer like Tropical Freeze was, like ever.
I think the only chance you have is if they do another Donkey Kong Country, or if Ubisoft finally goes, yeah, we'll actually finally make a new Rayman.
Oh my god, I would love a new Rayman.
Instead of importing Rayman again.
Super Mario Bros.
No,
makers. No.
Mario can just stick to whatever the fuck he's doing just now. I do not need to see new Super Mario Brothers Switch Deluxe garbage nonsense.
I did have one about Mario Maker. I did have one about Mario Maker 2 as well.
I should have mentioned actually, like the whole new Super Mario Brothers, like what was it, the Wii U version Deluxe on the Switch was one of the lamest announcements I had ever had to go through in my life. And everyone in the room I was with.
That's a popular opinion. That's a popular opinion.
It's just kind of one of those things that were inevitable, though.
That wasn't popular with the room that I was sitting in. I started bitching about it, like, for fuck's sake, this is really what we're getting. And like, everyone else in the room was just kind of like, whoa, man, calm down. Like, it's just a remake of Mario Wii U. I was like, exactly! That's the fucking problem. It's like, how many times do we have to go through this shit?
Yeah, I had one about Mario Maker 2, but it's extremely harsh. I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's maybe a bit too harsh.
What is it?
Oh, just
say it.
Just say it.
Mario Maker 2 was a waste of time, full stop.
Oh.
I kind of agree.
Nintendo
honestly.
didn't add anything that wasn't just DLC worthy. The create mode is a million times worse than it was in the Wii U version because you have to use a controller and the touch on the tablet. Just the tablet isn't big enough to really go at it without, like, you have to have those terrible styluses that have like the soft ends on them, not a hard stylus, so it's not even that great to use. The online, people think Smash's online was bad. Wait till you've played Mario Maker 2 when you can't even play 4-player co-op without it going at 1 frame a minute.
Remember that they originally were planning on releasing that game without able to play your friends.
They removed the fun that was the Mario challenge and replaced it with just an endless course progression thing that was nowhere near as fun.
They got rid of amiibo costumes. They got rid
of amiibo costumes,
They
and
got
just
rid
the
of
only
a
people
lot
that
of the
managed.
quirk
Yeah,
that
the
Mario
only
Maker
people
used
that
to have.
carried on playing it were the people that were originally into it, which shows by its sales because it literally sold the exact same amount of copies as Mario Maker 1 did on the Wii U. So literally the exact same people bought the game.
That's like one of the only things I imagine that didn't do better on the Switch than the Wii U.
And that's why I very harshly labeled it a waste of time because Nintendo didn't even profit off it that much.
I think it
Like,
added
didn't
a lot
grow.
of really nice things, though. Like, honestly, I think what they were trying to do with Mario Maker 2 was try and make it a little bit more professional. But the problem was that the Switch at the same time.
Everyone was too busy drawing dicks.
No. Like, I think what the issue was, like, as you mentioned, because it's on the Switch, it kind of lost the whole appeal of, like, drag and put stuff down here and whatnot, and instead using a controller. So I think they got rid of a lot of the quirkiness that original Mario Maker had to make it more professional looking and whatnot, and try and make it function. But then it kind of lost its charm in the same time doing it.
Yeah, that's that. I'm not gonna say Gen 4's wank. That's just a funny meme one that I put at the end of my
How
list.
dare you? I would never say such a thing.
Gen 7's the best gen.
Oh, let me scratch that one off too now that you said it.
Full stop.
Full stop.
Yeah, and I don't really have any other ones other than we're not going to get into an argument about this. No one really plays Dark Souls, so they can't. This is just one for all the fellas out there. Dark Souls wouldn't die if they had difficulty options. Just going to throw that one out there. It's not a life or death situation.
Well,
there's plenty of other games that are super hard.
I
have a
believe
hard difficulty.
that if the developers don't want to put them in there, they don't have to. Like,
oh, I agree, but I'm just saying all the fans that think that Dark Souls would die if they did implement a difficulty option are completely wrong because still I'm sure normal difficulty would still be what they intended.
Yeah,
or
there's
there would
a
still be a
difference
difficulty
between the fans trying to like gatekeep something, and then if the developers decided, hey, or if the developers just full stop don't want to put difficulty options in there because they don't want to, that's different than fans being like, oh, this would ruin it, because who cares what other people's experience with the game is.
I mean,
And if
sometimes
anything,
it's kind of like, isn't that like just because developers want you to experience the game that the way they want you to, pretty much.
Yeah. But at the same time, a lot of other developers, there's saying, hey, we want you to play it this certain way, or this is what we intended it to be. And then there is the people that are gatekeeping that are like, if there was an easy difficulty, then the whole point of Dark Souls would be like, no, because I'm sure they'd still make it a bull's hard game.
I'm sure the lore, and my friend talks to me about the lore and backstory of characters in that game all the time. It's not just the difficulty that's appealing to people.
And then it's also like an accessibility thing as well. Like I'm sure as much as most people would hate it, like some people would hate it, there's also the fact that some people just can't play those games.
I've seen people legit get pissed off at just the normal mode in CTR. Like, that is so funny. They're like, oh, they should make normal mode easier. It's like, that's what easy's there for.
But then at the exact same time, people that play
saying that Final Fantasy VII's easy mode is too easy.
Yeah, and the people that play, exactly. It's like,
why
you can't
win.
Playing
easy.
Yeah, exactly.
But there you go. Anyway, that was my last little one. And with that, it's nearly an hour, so I think we're good to go. Those were our unpopular opinions. Let us know what you think by getting in contact with us at the GigersYT on Twitter, or leave a YouTube comment if you want. We never read them.
I read them.
I'll read them if you talk about Ultimate.
I'm kidding. I just like to make that joke. I don't know why. Other than that, Hunter, where can people find you?
YouTube.com/ReaperHunter23.
Very cool. Jack, where can people find you?
Twitter.com, Yakubin1996, or Twitch.tv/Yakubin.
Oh, what have you been playing, Jack? What have you been playing?
Oh, I've been playing Wii. No, I'm joking. I've been playing Crash 2 recently. Speedrunning.
Yeah, so if you like Crash 2 speedruns, go over there. Sam, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/back. BACK. In case you didn't know how to spell that.
Thank you. I'm sure all of our illiterate viewers are very grateful for that. And you can find me at twitter.com/whatjames_ or at youtube.com/whatjames when I upload videos once every 5 years. With that, we are done. That has been our show. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, you can rate our podcast on iTunes and Google Play. Please give us 5 stars. And if you don't, go to YouTube and leave a dislike. Don't leave us 1 star, please. Thank you. We have a Persona 5 Royal spoiler cast coming out on Thursday, over 3 hours long. Please, if you like Persona, give it a listen, at least the first hour.
If you don't like Persona, mute the video and give it a listen anyway.
That's the spirit, Hunter. That's the spirit. We like to see it. We like to forge our analytics. Anyway, on that note, that's been our show. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time for some more Hot Gamers Only. Until then, bye.